Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. We're here for the second video of my film doubleheader today. So the first movie I saw, and I think I've got the title right, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Based on the popular Judy Blume book, best-selling novel for what they call YA, young adult audience. And I'm going to couple this film review with a documentary review I just watched, I believe through Paramount Plus. Judy Blume, I think it's called Judy Blume Rules. I think that's what it's called. Documentary about Judy Blume. I've also watched, not the entire thing, but a good portion of her masterclass. And you say, well, gee whiz, Mike, what's that? Masterclass.com is a website. They should be paying me for this free advertising, but they have a lot of great people on there. Stephen Curry tells you how to shoot a ball on a hoop. Christina Aguilera teaches you how to have big breasts and blonde hair. Samuel L. Jackson teaches you how to swear and yell loudly in movies. All the wonderful experts. Metallica tells you how to be self-indulgent and fight Napster. All these wonderful things on masterclass.com. Where's my commission? But Judy Blume has a nice writing of books on there, and I've watched a good portion of her class. I should finish it. I should do this, I should do that. I just don't have time for all the things I should be doing, okay? But Judy Blume documentary, 3, 4, 5, 6 days ago, I was just waking up. I was shaking out the cobwebs. I wanted to watch something with a little more substance, a little more steak than sizzle. I did not want to just go down the path of YouTube videos, Memphis Wrestling from 1981, or Continental Wrestling Federation from 1982, or Officer Tatum, or fucking Candace Owens, or Joe Rogan, or all my familiar fucks, all the fucking voices that interrupt with my wavelength. I wanted to put them on hold. I wanted to watch something a little bit different. So I went to Paramount Plus. I put on fucking the first thing that looks of interest. I actually, this is what happens. You see something that looks of interest. I saw the Judy Blume thing. I kept on scrolling, seeing if I could find something better. And then I went back. And I said, something's telling me to watch this. So I watched it. And I really didn't know. I guess I'm doing the documentary review first. I didn't know all these things about Judy Blume. In my own youth, I can only recall reading about 1.5 of her books. I believe I enjoyed thoroughly. Tales, I believe it's called Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing, or Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And then it's about the kid and his brother, and they've got a fucking pet turtle and a dog. And then the next thing you know, it's Super Fudge, which the title is the younger brother character. Fudge is his fucking name, and now he's Super Fudge. So, what can I say? I mean, I remember reading Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing, and then starting to read Super Fudge, and for whatever reason, I don't think I finished it. I just think it was just, I don't know. It was just not for me, and that was a long time ago, but I still remember it, okay? But Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing, I'll stand by. I'll stand by that. You see all these assholes on social media, people that, act once every 5 years. I stand by the Writers Guild. Oh, well, we'll be sure and tell them, because they'll give a fuck, right? So, going back, the Judy Blume doc, a lot of talking heads. It's, but there's some footage in there. Judy Blume was quite the looker in her day. But she went out to write these books because she felt that children, young people, were not being given book material that really dealt with the real issues that they were going through of popularity and bullying and sex and all the things they go through. And she said she had this amazing recall for her own childhood, and she could put herself back in those situations and so forth. And she was kind of a unhappy, wife, and all these things. And so she ends up writing this book and then another book, and pretty soon she's writing books. And all the talking heads said, oh my God, my mother wouldn't talk to me about getting my period. But then I read Judy Blume's book, and suddenly I felt like Judy Blume was better than my mother. So all these confessionals of all these fucking people, look at my bicep, okay? All these people have all these Judy Blume stories. you put them in a nice melting pot of a video, and you have this wonderful documentary. And I did not realize she went through all these fights with Pat Buchanan, and this one and that one and that one and this one, trying, and free the books. The books must be read and all this good stuff. Interesting lady, interesting life. Still around, still kicking it in the 2-3, as the kids say. So I say, if you like, stuff, watch the movie, or don't. Watch the doc. Now we talk about this actual narrative film based on her best-selling novel. I believe this is the first film version of this movie. I don't think it's a remake or a rechristening of the Dear God, It's Me, Margaret, blah, blah, blah. Dear God, Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. So, yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, I thought the young lady, I believe she's playing a 12-year-old Margaret. I thought she did a nice job. Compared to who, I don't know. The other there's kind of a quartet, a friend pack of 4 young ladies, kind of like the sister of the traveling pants. I thought all the young actresses did well. It was really a thing where there was like 2 main friends, the Margaret and Nancy. Nancy's kind of the, Paris Hilton at age 11 type of character, and Margaret is like the Middle Earth character, like the girl next door. But then they're playing all these, for 11-year-olds, they're doing some intense shit. They're playing Spin the Bottle, and they're talking about boys, and they're looking at Playboy magazine, and all these things that young ladies should not do, Judy. But, it's the magic of cinema. And I think the other thing, if I could interject, I don't think I've read the book, but I would just suggest, whether in the book or in the movie, these could be events that perhaps in reality would have taken place from age 11 to all the way to 15 or 16 or so. But because you're in a 2-hour movie or a 200-page novel, you kind of have to condense things. And I'm just speculating here, but I don't know, because I can't say that I know too much about the children's lives, except for what I experienced on my own. And I was not Margaret, obviously, or Judy, or Nancy. So you get to know these young ladies, and you see the trials and the tribulations they're going through. The keeping up with the Joneses, or keeping up with their little friends or their classmates. One thing that I saw in this movie that, in childhood is tough. I mean, I can remember it's not the easiest thing in the world. The girls are very preoccupied, or very obsessed almost, with their bodies, with the menstruation that's a-coming, the bloody Aunt Flo that's about to visit. So they're all kind of rushing towards puberty, and they're all, the 4 girls that are the friends, Margaret and her associates, they're all rushing towards this, adulthood, womanhood. Yet, there's a girl in their very class who is kind of an early bloomer. She has almost a womanly-like body at age 12. She's much taller. She's more developed, shall we say. And Nancy, the ringleader, the Paris Hilton type, and she kind of leads the way. But Margaret and the other 2, they're all kind of, each bitch, to this young lady. They're all giving her a hard time because she's all tall and developed and so forth and looks like an adult. They're all giving her a hard time about that, yet they are all rushing towards that. And from a logical man's point of view, a mansplaining point of view, it makes no sense. But once you realize these are young women, and women in the first place don't make any sense. And so when they're young, even less. But childhood in general, not just girls, but boys too, blah, 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 hashtag. But yeah, so it's like, okay, everybody's a fuck. Even our girl Margaret, who's our hero in this film, she's a fuck. She's giving this tall girl a hard time. The other thing that I didn't know about this goddamn book, or this novel, whatever the fuck, Dear God, basically, poor little Margaret, the movie takes place in 1970. It's so refreshing to see a world exist without cell phones, although I'm using one now to speak to you. Oh, the irony, Mike. But it's so nice to see no one with a crooked neck, on their fucking phone, or you go see a movie and there's text bubbles on the screen. So cheap. Such a cheap technique, okay? Texting does not belong in films. Thank you. It's not cinematic. That's why. So, this movie takes place in 1970. Jennifer Garner, you might remember her for an Alias and all these things. Wasn't she married to someone equally as famous? Was she married to a Fleck or something like that? But Jennifer Garner still, pretty hot number there. People were tripping the light fantastic because Jessica Alba showed up at a basketball game a couple of nights ago, and people were getting all excited about it. Okay, she watches basketball. Wow. But you ever see that thing with Halle Berry and Kobe? Like Halle's like licking her fucking lips over Kobe for the Mamba. But anyway. Oh, God. What was I talking about? This fucking book. Okay. The whole thing with this movie is Kathy Bates plays Grandmama. Does a nice job. Kathy Bates still making things happen. She was in The Office the last couple of seasons. But Kathy Bates playing Grandma. There's this whole storyline of, fucking Margaret's mother's a Christian. Her dad is a Jewish gentleman. Margaret's never met her mother's parents because they have, as we discover with Margaret, they have disowned their own daughter because she married a Jewish gentleman. And so that's a big thing. So then we, the parents, Margaret or whatever the fuck, the mom, Jennifer Gardner's mom, Barbara is her name. I can't believe I remember. She sends her parents in Ohio a letter, a card. They respond with their own card. Meanwhile, Margaret's supposed to go to Florida, see Grandmama, and she's getting her groove on with Mr. Benjamin or something. And before you know it, plans change, kid, because the maternal grandparents are coming to see the family, and they've never met their granddaughter before because they're bigots, because they don't like the fact that their daughter married a Jewish man, and now, and basically the way that, it's funny how parents are always so goddamn fucked up. I'm Jewish, you're Christian, so we'll just raise our daughter as nothing and let her decide, so it's kind of like, bad parenting in some regard, because they've just kind of left little Margaret out to dry, and that's why she's having all these heady, at age 11, she's dealing with God on her own terms, and she's confused, and she's seeking direction from her little friend Nancy, but Nancy is raised by a Stepford wife, and all these things, and every school committee, and what's this movie all about? So, there you go, folks. I mean, now look, I'm obviously not a child, I'm obviously not female, but I think that there are some human things in this movie. You don't have to be a child and or female, you can be anybody. I think you would learn and you would remember the traumas and the tragedies of childhood. I think that you will relate to these characters, and even as I pointed out earlier, the hypocrisy and the discrepancy of they're all rushing to womanhood, and yet they're mocking the girl that's already been through that. I mean, to a logical human being, they would seek her counsel, ask for her interpretations or her advice. But in girlhood, they mock her and they, alienate her, and she has no friends. Interesting in this movie that this fucking, what's her face? All the little girls get this big crush on this guy, Thomas Leroy, or whatever the fuck his name is. They're all kind of excited about him. And Margaret, through a chance of fate, ends up getting smooched, kissed by this guy with a spin the bottle game, upsetting her little friend Nancy. But in the meantime, Margaret's all hot and bothered by this other kid. It's actually Nancy's brother's friend, Moose, I think is his name. So little Margaret, she's getting some action in from what's his dick, from the guy, Patrick Leroy. In the meantime, good old Moose is standing there mowing the lawn, quite literally mowing the lawn at their house. And she doesn't get smooched by him, you know, but I guess she's getting her pride. Maybe that's in the sequel, you know. Dear God, it's me, Margaret, and Moose. All right, hold on. So there you have it, folks. So a lot of things in this movie, very interesting. I enjoyed the film. You know, like I said, you don't have to be from 1970. You don't have to be a Judy Blume enthusiast. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to be a Jew. You just have to buy a ticket and see the movie. That's all you do. So I thought, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. So if you feel like going on a Judy Blume kick, now you have your assignment. You watch the Judy Blume documentary. It might have been called Judy Blume Forever. That might have been it. Or Judy Blume Rules. Or Yay, 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 Judy Blume. And then you see this movie, you know, God, are you there? It's me, Margaret. I guess I'm becoming so cynical. And I think it's this whole, you know, Karen thing that came out, whenever that came out. It's like at some point, I'll say this. Although I enjoy the movie and I got it and everything, there are times in this movie when you feel like saying, oh, white people problems or white women problems. You know, oh my God, you got your menstruation. Oh my goodness. Wow, exciting. So there are times when you can be cynical and kind of shit on the movie or, you know, and that's, I think, what happens with us. We see so much shit of our world that's ever horrible, you know, school shootings. I mean, like at the time, these kids in 1970 just had to worry about being tall or being short or play spin the bottle. And, but now these poor kids can't even go to school without doing, I mean, they literally, from what I understand, they have these school shooter drills. I mean, it's just sad. I mean, you know, it's just sad. I mean, the kids back in 1970 just had to worry about being popular and having friends, and now they have to worry about getting shot. So, I mean, you know, obviously, hashtag whatever the fuck, but I just don't know what to say, except in, you know, recent years, I've been very cynical or sarcastic towards the younger generations. They're weak, they're flaccid, and so forth. But then you think, man, these fucking kids have been through a lot of shit. You know what I mean? They went through a whole goddamn pandemic. They went through all these horrible things. You know, so let's give the kids a break. Yes, they're on their cell phones too long. Yes, they don't know how to substitute beans for beef at the fucking Taco Bell drive-thru. Yes, they can't fucking finish a sentence without a mumble or by looking at their fucking toes. But they've been through a lot, okay? So I'm going to tip my hat to the new generation, say a vow for whatever the fuck, and that's it. So Mike Messier, me, A Distance from Avalon, my book, Fight or Play Basketball, my other book, all these wonderful things. You're on One Mike Messier. You see all of Mike's instant movie reviews. If you want to see the backlog, you find the playlist. I think I've playlisted all the other ones, but if you go to One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan, my archives are there, tons of stuff. I always say that a word I hate is an undervalued property on the Mike Messier universe. Disregard the Vampire, a Mike Messier award-winning documentary. Chris and the Coffee Girl, the Philadelphia Experiment with Raven, unbelievably interesting project, okay? And if you want to buy my books, then buy them, okay? Fight or Play Basketball, what a great novel that I wrote. So great, so epic. And so forth. So there you fucking have it. So once again, I say go see this movie. You'll feel better about it. You'll feel better about things. Good night.